talked about planting the seed and watching it grow. So it's just like SII, we've had some tropical rainstorms, right? Big rainstorms, and so we've also given the kids extra nourishment, extra rain, extra sunshine, extra love and attention, and so they really are blossoming and growing. And then the question is how to keep that going at home, and for that we have some words of wisdom from Mr. Haruo and Mr. Kian, who are here today to talk about a few points. And then we'd like to give time for parents to ask questions and to maybe make some comments, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so without any further ado, Mr. Haruo, maybe you were going to talk about...
What would I talk?
Back.
Pardon?
No.
Review.
Review. And you were doing listening.
Yes.
Which one? Who wants to go first?
Do you want to
Maybe you can go first.
Yeah,
Listening.
I think
Yeah,
listening.
Listening is better to talk
It's
about.
better to talk about it
Yeah.
because that's the first thing we do.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I just titled this "Listening Matters" because if you the premise of the core principle of the Suzuki method, it's also, if you know it, what do we call it? We don't call it the Suzuki method to begin with. We call it the mother tongue. How does mother tongue work? Like, do you, when your children goes up, do you ever not expect them to speak the language you speak at home? Or, I'm not expecting, I'm growing up in a Cantonese speaking family, I don't expect them to speak Cantonese ever. Or do you have that worry, they're not going to be able to speak Cantonese, or they're not going to be able to speak Bahasa? Do you ever worry about that? No. What gives you that kind of comfort that they're going to learn how to speak? Because they're listening to it every day. And do we force the child? Right now I'm not speaking. Right now maybe we ask them to read much earlier. But do you force them to, like, at 1 or 6 months old, this is A, No, right? But what do you do instead of teaching them how to say You repeat. And you show them, right? You tell them. And do you stop at, now you know how to say let's go to ba? What happens after You repeat, you do it again and again. And when the child is like, I say, and then when they put M and A, ma, together, what's your reaction? When they start to say, mama, the very first, can you remember your very first mama? Okay, everybody's smiling.
Very happy.
Yes, but do you stop right there? Now you know how to say mama, let's go. Popo, gong gong, everyone else? No. You keep rejoicing in the fact that they start to have that ability to speak. And that seed was planted from listening, because the child started listening when they were in the womb. And in fact, the ears are one of the very first organs to develop in the womb, right? And they started listening. And why it matters so much in the Suzuki method, because the whole principle, the premise is built on the ability to listen, to be able to appreciate music, and the success of this methodology really lies heavily on listening. If you listen to your music, the child gets exposed to the different nuances of the music, and they know what's coming ahead, and they already know, okay, this is a long bow, this is a short bow, this note is long, this note is short, and this is staccato with power, and that is a sweet singing tone. Even though they might not know how to play just yet, but listening gives them that preview, the oral model to know that, this is something that I'm gonna do, and I already know. And to be honest, it will save you a lot of frustration. Okay, it will save you a lot of frustration. Speaking as a teacher, I know when the students listen and when they can pick up the music and start to do, maybe they cannot do it right away, but after a few listening, they are able to know exactly, I'm playing this note a little bit out of tune, this note is not long enough, They can refine on the technique, but without listening, it's gonna take so much more time and effort, and more frustration on you because you gotta have to practice with them at home.
No more money for lessons.
Yeah. So I cannot stress enough the value of listening, because the whole success of the child, of the methodology and the enjoyment lies in that very foundation, right? So now that I've talked about the many benefits of listening, it saves you frustration and it helps you develop the oral skills that are needed for playing instruments, right? Identifying intervals, pitches, playing in tune, what colors you want to play. I think sometimes music is so multi-new, what was that word? That it engages very different kinds of sensory. And when we talk about music, we talk about colors, we talk about temperatures, we talk about feelings. And isn't it magical that we can talk about like colors for music? Oh, that sounds like bright, warm sound and temperature. So and that's music. And you hear people say that, and it really engages different parts of the brain. And to start that, you really have to plant that listening, the musical bank, right? To begin with, because the listening builds the foundations to all the different elements in music, like the little different building blocks. It starts from listening, and what is going to be very valuable for you also in the future, because it's where motivation comes from afterwards. Because when the child starts to build a little bit of skills coupled with the ability to really listen and pick out notes, they are going to be wanting to, I'm going to go into book 2. That Boccherini has been listening to it like since I was like 4. I'm going to play that in the upcoming lessons. So that's where motivation comes in. And ultimately, as parents and as teacher, you want that music to become the food for motivation. Yes, early on you need to brighten a little bit, you need to like external motivation, but eventually at the very end, at the very core of this everything that we do, it needs to come from the inside. Listening is your key. Alright? Now, you ask me, how can I make listening happen? Does anybody have trouble getting your child to listen? Oh no? Wow! I want you all to come to Hong Kong and tell my parents to do that. Do you have any now I want to ask, how do you create like a healthy listening environment? What are your methods or your ways to help your child listen? Yeah, Rita.
I play the music almost every morning to wake them up. So they listen to it and then they will enjoy it and wake up and have their breakfast.
A soft alarm for waking up. Very nice. Thank you. How long does it usually last?
45 minutes, because I will play randomly from book 1 to book 4.
Yeah. Wonderful. So 45 minutes of
Yes, they will go to the toilet, do everything, and not.
But it's always in the background. You can hear it. So that what she was describing is a kind of music listening as background music, a passive kind of listening, and you need that because the students will. It's just like when you're in the society, you pick up nuances of how people speak, right? And you hear that person's from Sundan, or that person's from Jakarta, that person is from Bali, because they hear all this sound, they're able to discern, right? But if you take that away and they have no foundation to begin with, right? It's like if I would listen to a foreign language I've never heard before, I would not be able to pinpoint or to even guess that might be from where, right? Yeah, so passive listening. And do you think passive listening is enough that would be a very good start, I would say. That's the best way to start. Passive listening and put it in the background, and so that they absorb. The more they listen to it, the better it will be ingrained in their system. And I would encourage you guys to really look out for some good quality professional playing, right? So that those are the kind of sound that they are ingraining in the system. Yeah, so that's passive listening. what is the opposite of passive listening then? Active listening. I think you would be very interested in this because you all want your children to be able to do active listening, right? Because active listening means you tell them they understand, they're able to execute, and they're able to respond to it, right? Go brush your teeth, right? It requires an active listening part of the brain. I need to go to the bathroom, put things on my toothpaste on my toothbrush and do this. But before you have the go brush your teeth command, do you ever teach them how to brush their teeth?
Yes.
Yes, right? So then from this passive listening to be able to understand active listening, there's like a whole way that you need to help them gain the access to be able to do the active listening, right? So you need to teach them this is how you put on, how much you need to put on the toothpaste, and how much water, and how do you rinse, how do you brush this way, that way, or that way. To be able to, like a few years down the road, I know my sisters yell at my nieces and nephews, go brush your teeth, but she doesn't go and really show them how to brush their teeth anymore because they understood the assignment, right? And but yet she's still telling them to go brush their teeth every single night. So when I went back home, I read last 2 weeks ago, every single night, 8:30. Now you need to go brush your teeth, and it lasts until 9. I think this is struggle, but this is something that you have to expect that it happen. Go practice. You need to just remind them because practicing is never the responsibility of the child. Practicing and turning on the listening CD, the recording, is the adult's responsibility. Because if you ask them to go listen at a very young age when they just started, they have no clue. Why do I need to do this, right? So practicing at the very beginning and listening is actually the adult's responsibility, right? So now, from this passive listening to active listening, in the middle you have to teach them and you have to do a lot of hands-on activities, right? And that is why in the beginning lessons, we ask the parents to really experience, okay, how you do this so that you understand that it's not easy to execute this, so that you understand the working of an instrument, so that you understand what your child is going through. And this triangle will fall apart if any single part of the party is not committed to it, right? If the teacher's not committed to it, if the teacher's not asking you to do this and this, and if the parent is not following up what the teachers asked for, if the student is not doing what the teachers and students asked for, it will not work, right? So yeah, and so that's what I have for listening. So active and passive listening. And if you have questions, I have a lot more written down, but I would like to listen to questions more so that I'm not just the one yapping here. Because I've done a lot of teaching this past 4 days, so that's enough yapping. Do you have any questions about active listening, passive listening? How can I make listening a little bit more fun? What can I do about this and that? And what can I do? Is there anything I can talk to my teacher about how to, I have this problem with listening?
How
Yes.
do I get them to listen? Like listen. How to get them to listen? I guess that's next
Listen to the
question.
recording, or listen
to do the active listening.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like culture them?
Look, before you have to start with the active listening, do you do a lot of passive listening at home?
Yeah, sometimes, not often, not that
Okay.
often, not daily, but
we have the issue right there. We need to make that sometimes, not so often, into all the time.
So before active listening is the passive listening first.
No, they happen all together,
Oh.
right? I'm just saying that because you need the passive listening to have that. Active listening is it can be right now. You're all listening to me inside to process. In the lesson, teacher asks the student, can you put your bow on the A string? That's active listening. Now listen to if your tone is ringing. That's active listening. Listen to the finger if your finger is on the third finger, and play it if that note is ringing. So those are all active listening, right? And how do you get your students to do active listening? It could be as simple as, okay, let's listen to if that note is in tune. Let's listen to if your finger is on the right place. Let's listen to if your bow is speaking. Let's listen to if your bow is doing this long note. Those are all examples of listening. Rather than just tell your child to go listen, because it's just like telling a person to go focus. It don't say anything, right? Focus on what, right? So many times say, hey, listen. Listen to what? Hey, focus. Focus on what? So I would go to another step to say like, focus on putting your hand in the right place. Focus on feeling your bow on the string. Focus on making this nice, beautiful hand shape. Focus on looking at the string vibrating. So those are many good examples of listening. And it gives the body a task. It is especially important for the young ones. Because when they have this, and you know, because later on, all these skills are going to add up. In book 3, book 4, we are not just listening to if the notes are in tune. We need to say, are you breathing right? Are you playing the phrase right? Is your bow going too fast or slow? And are you doing the articulation? And are you playing together with the piano? So all those things happen at once. And all those things is supported by starting at the very foundation level of listening and a little bit of active listening happening
Perhaps
together.
you mean also active listening with the recording? Or with the recording?
The recording, yes.
Because, for example, this week I had the C2 class, and some of the students weren't playing one of the songs, but while the others who could play were performing, those who couldn't play, they were listening and they were following the score with their finger. So once
Yes.
they can become familiar with the score, that's also a very good way to keep their focus during a
Yes.
listening task. So they can, even if it's a new book they haven't had yet, they can listen to a song
And read the
just
music.
follow along. Even if it isn't perfect, it's adding another sense to the task, and then there's more focus.
Yeah, it helps really active listening in that I call it the score reading. You're listening to music and you're reading along just like you read a book.
Yeah.
And even if the child is not really super, they know how to play that note, but looking at the shape of the music helps. And then they learn how to really, match like the speed according to the music and the shape and the line. Sometimes there's like fingering markings, sometimes there are like phrase markings that they could pinpoint, right? It's like landmarks. Yeah, active listening. Very good. Thank you, Mrs. C. That was a very good active listening.
Do you have more ideas for passive listening for teenager? Like I used to use the car drive time to play, and when they were little, no to play.
Yeah.
But now it's like Suzuki, no, I don't want. It's so not cool. That's the last thing I want to hear. But it was really good idea when they cannot do anything while they're half asleep to wake them up.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that, so it's like going back to the
Mm-hmm.
method when they were little.
Yeah. Well, just slide in a couple of Taylor Swifts in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we should be listening to way more Suzuki, but my kids like other violins also, so they find other performers who play and listen to their scores and or their orchestras, so whatever they're playing, so then they get into different kinds of, it's still violin, sometimes it's classical, sometimes it's not, for the most part not. But they enjoy that more because they get, it's good tone. So I think that's the point of listening. So listening to good tone, to listening to rhythm, and that maybe it's more inspiring. Sometimes they get bored with the repertoire because they've been listening to that for years. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, mostly that, but it's okay.
And attending live performances. Like, this is a very good opportunity where different students go on stage and they might play the same piece. They get to see the same piece they're learning or they will be learning, but played live. Yeah, that would be a very good opportunity, right? Go to live performances. And I'm pretty sure now YouTube has lots of good performances up there, but do ask your teacher for opinion, because I also know if I can put music on YouTube, anybody can, right? So make sure that you listen to some good quality, like, okay, would your teacher recommend this person to listen to or that person? Yeah, that would be one way. Like, you know, when they are doing something, just put it in the background. That's passive listening. It has to happen either way, right? Slide in a couple pop songs in there when they're playing the Taylor Swift. You know, let's make a deal. You have to listen to this, you know, 2 more times before you get to listen to Taylor Swift. With teenagers, especially, you need to respect, you know, their wishes too, because, as you know, it's a very. It comes to an age where they want to have some independence, right? So the communication, I think, is more about communication part rather than really have to do what I say, right? I think it's communication part. But yeah, of course, like what she said, and attending live concerts, I think they're valuable to help with that too. And I think in Jakarta we have also a very good orchestra, and they have opportunities to do
Jakarta
that.
Symphony Orchestra last Saturday had a fantastic concert. Pop Wong was a wonderful violinist.
Yeah. And it's also a way that you show that you care when you go to concerts with your child. You show that you enjoy the music. I think they will embody the same kind of mentality too. Because this is really, it's a family thing, right? It's a family thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kian. Thank you. Your thoughts about listening. And I'll ask Mr. Haruo to talk a little bit about a review. This is also for sustaining students over the years.
Well, listening and reviewing must always go together. Or in a way, when you play, let's say in my case, when you play violin, you hear your sound. But hearing is not good enough. You have to really listen to your sound so that you can judge whether my sound is good, not so good, what can I do, something. And or then, in order to improve things, you need to have a material. And in this case, it can be tonalization, which is tone development, and also you use pieces that children can play easily, so that they have no difficulties physically, either moving their fingers, moving their arms, so they're very fluent, so that they're not gonna just switch off and go autopilot. No, because they're fluent, so that they can engage their mind, their feeling, emotion, and so I think reviewing is one of the most important part of practice. And you can explore as a student or as a child your own feeling, your feeling towards the piece, music, and you kind of try this way, that way, and obviously we have a model like the material that we listen to, and the aim is how can I play like that? And you try, and it doesn't go well, you try another way, and by doing that, you hope you develop a sense of patience, because you cannot do it once and you couldn't do it, okay, I give up. No, you have to go over and over and over. So you develop the ability, let's say, because Suzuki is all about ability development. You develop ability to be patient, and in order to do over and over and over, you develop the ability to be resilient. You don't give up. And if one couldn't work, try another way. So another way doesn't just come naturally, so you have to think about it. So you develop the ability to be creative, And all of that, it's not only for music, but it's a very important quality as a human being. Be patient, be resilient, be creative. Well, creativity is really a key of being a human being, because you're not given the manual what to do and you just follow the manual. No, that's like machine. And that's something we can develop in, I don't want to even say review or revision, it's the things we can develop using pieces we are very fluent with. And think this way, new pieces will probably give you or give students like new ideas. New ideas or new skills doesn't really mean it's a better idea or better skills. What? Learning something new is good, but you always want to make sure your own quality gets better. And the quality development only happens when you do things you can do over and over and over. And well, living in Australia, it's so easily put into how they train for sports, because a lot of Australians are pretty keen sports players. And in sports training, rarely you do things you can't do. I mean, you try to do things you can do over and over and over. And because you do over and over and over, you notice the difference each day. And the more serious you become, the basics become so important. What you do, you stretch first, so that you don't injure. And when stretching, you feel, oh, my muscles be tight today, so I'm gonna go easy. It's like, well, it's like for violin practice, it's like starting from how you stand up and how you just, put the violin up, hold the bow, you sort of go, oh, my arm is not really right today, and you sort of move. Its movement's okay, like you play single tone, and that's like stretching, just conditioning yourself. And in order to do that, not only, it's not just a drill, it takes a lot of your concentration, focus, a lot of thinking, a lot of reflections. Then, even when training for skills, they don't always learn new skills. They always try to be better at what they can do. And when they become pretty comfortable with what they can do, they can come up with their own ideas, like, oh, what if I do this? That's really important. You don't do what you're told to do. I mean, it's important that you do. You try to do what you're told to do. But the sense of like making up something, creating something, just gives them extra dimension of motivation. And I think it's important that they feel they can do. If they're always playing pieces that it's hard to play, well, it's very hard to motivate themselves. But when they can play pieces they can play, and they feel, oh, I can do this, it cultivates motivation. And we're talking about Suzuki method, and we talk about mother tongue method. You I don't know whether you wonder about this, but why do parents speak to their newborn babies knowing the baby wouldn't really understand the word? It's not the case, I have to start speaking my baby so that in 5 or 6 months time this baby is not gonna speak, so I have to prepare myself and my babies. Here you go, 1, 2, 3. No, you don't do that. Why do we talk? It's a pure expression of love, pure expression of you know, yeah, love and thanks, appreciation. You know, thank you being my child. Thank you to be with me. So, not only just talking, any kind of communication, you hug, you smile, kids get that. So, in your speaking to children, there is a sense of love. So, when talking about, well, Suzuki, mother tongue method, the foundation is love. Without love, you don't talk to your kids. I mean, like, if you hate this person, why would you like to talk to that person? You try to avoid. And so, as a teacher, when talking about mother tongue method, I question myself, can I and do I love my students as if they're my kids? It's unconditional love. So it's not a love of like feeling. If you do this, I can do that for you. There's no dealing in love. It's unconditional. So I often think about that. Everything happens with love and appreciation, trust, respect. And in my studio, I try to encourage my students to listen to Dr. Suzuki's playing as a listening material to begin with. Not because Dr. Suzuki is the founder of Suzuki method and we have to listen to the founder. No, we're not cult. We're not religion, really. But as far as I can concern, Dr. Suzuki's playing is the best example of feeling the simple love and happiness. So when the newly starting students, families listen to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, I would like the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to have the quality of love and happiness. And that's, so listening or hearing, I'll say you're gonna start hearing first. Just like kids, they don't listen to you talk first, they're just hearing, they pick up. Then when they can hear it, when they can pick up, they develop with their mind and focus, they develop the skill of listening. Listening is the hearing with attention, or intention. So, without that intentional listening part, when they play, they wouldn't know what's going on. Like, is my pitch okay? Kids can easily say, oh, I don't know, you tell me. I mean, at the lessons, but you know, the children playing, and as they play, they look at me. Like, am I okay? And I know what they're thinking because I used to do that to my teacher too. I said, why do you look? I don't know. And when they finish playing, they say, what do you think? What do I think? I don't know. What do you think? I'm not telling what I think. You're the one playing. It's just a communication like this. I try to put the responsibility of, it's almost like it's no difference to just daily life. You are responsible for your action. Simple as that. And they say, oh, somebody told me to do this. Did you think that's the right thing to do? But they told me. Did you think that's the right thing to do? Well, then it's your responsibility. You choose to do it. You have a opportunity not to do it. It's always a choice. And playing as well. Should I play this way or that way? There's a choice. And you try to, with the revision, with listening, we try to develop the sense of judgment, what's right. And the basis is really, the basis of judgment is the pure love and the understanding of nature. And just try your best. And just one thing. When there's a Dr. Suzuki's quote saying, ability first, not ability first, character first, ability second. And for a long time, I didn't get it. As a child, as a student, I thought I tried hard enough to be a better player, being able to play with good tone. And we're always told to have more or have higher sense of ability, and try hard. And suddenly you hear character first, ability second. Which is something better than ability. Character. What is character? And I feel character or personality is something we can change. It's not inborn thing. And that's my understanding. You can tell me if it's wrong. As a human, ability to change yourself for better is very important. And in order to do so, you need to very objectively judge yourself. We are all very subjective beings. I want to think I'm doing okay. Especially coming to a workshop like this for the first time, I'm a bit nervous, and I wish if I could do a good job. But I don't know, do I? And I can't just think because I'm trying my best, it's gonna be good. No, you don't know. So you just need to have the sense of being objective. And when you look at yourself objectively, if you feel there's something I need to improve, well, improve. How do you improve? You change how you think. If you change how you think, you change what you might say, how you might act. And if you change what you say or your behavior, well, you're a different person. And if you keep doing that over and over and over, it becomes natural to you, natural to me. And so, just the same as how you learn the music, how you try to improve the music, you can apply that to yourself, myself, and I try to improve your quality as a human being, and to be more loving, to be more kind, caring, to be more understanding and forgiving. Gee, I sound like a boy. No, I'm real. And you really need to be, that's the ideal human society, that you understand other people who has a different idea. Different idea doesn't mean the wrong idea. And you learn to respect and trust regardless of what this person is saying as a human being. We all have just one life in here. So there's a respect for each individual's life. And you treat with the most utmost trust, respect, and love. And I think that's what Suzuki can achieve. The end.
Thank you for the inspiring words.
Yes.
kind of session?
Like very inspiring words.
Yes.
He does it this way.
Well,
It's like a request.
Yeah, because behavior is very important.
Well-
Teaching behavior is very important.
when you, I don't know how you think, but as a teacher, when we have like a group lesson or like classes, you try to do this without talking too much, with your action and with your music, because music is a form of language, and it's a universal language. Yeah, so if I play, and even obviously I don't speak Indonesian, but as we play, we understand each other. And in your playing, in the tone, you get to hear like children's emotional side as well. And even if I don't understand the language, if you play, we can share the emotion, we can share thoughts, we can share everything, humanity, love, because having the right sort of way of making good tone, then the tone we make is not the tone of violin, it's the tone of our soul. So, you feel that, you try to communicate with kids' feeling and kids' spirit, kids' soul, and we try to communicate with life.
there's a special gift for each one of you inside the bag. Very special one. If you want to see it, you can see it. If you don't, yeah, you can see it. Okay, can you show the graph? Everyone of you, thank you. And finally, 3 individuals who have been incredibly volunteers over. Video ya, video.